Well, if you have come across her or, you have encountered her professionally, you'd want to refer to her as a pathologist as well as virologist. That is Dr. Florence Wambugu. I personally choose to call her, a food champion or food security champion because, well, for the longest of time, perhaps I began watching her sometime, like 11, close to 15 years back, just following up on, what are some of the things that she's been doing. And I can tell you for sure, this is one lady who believes that, the growth of the nation is highly dependent on the aspect of agriculture. And therefore, we sit down with her this evening just to get to know how does she get into this space of importance? How has she managed to dance in this stage for quite a long time? And not just dance, but bringing that aspect of significance in the space of agriculture and food security in the country. And perhaps beyond. We'll be getting to this conversation. Remember, the lines are open for you to call us live as well. You can send us your messages. As always, the hashtag is #HerSay. We'll be sampling some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast at Linda_Alela TV47KE across all our social media platforms, as well as 22047 as the SMS, a short code. You could ask Dr. any kind of questions. And this, I always say, is a show that, is dedicated to the ladies, but we do not lock the men outside, because there's that one person who probably would want to get that moment of motivation. I mean, she will definitely tell you that in her journey, equally we've experienced challenges, or she has experienced challenges, but just how does she manage to overcome them? Dr. Thank you so much for honoring us tonight.
I'm also glad to have me here.
Karibu sana. A bit of a cold. I know Nairobians are saying that, not just Nairobians, I think across the country it has rained. So there's been extreme weather, the heat and all that. Then all of a sudden there's a rain. Suddenly one has to catch a cold. And so you'll excuse us this evening if you get to feel like a bit uncomfortable as to how we talk. But all the same, the show must continue. So Dr. it's an honor once again, as I have said, to have you this evening, and we get to this space just getting to understand who is Dr. Florence Wambugu, for those of us who perhaps could not be knowing you.
Well, first let me say I'm a I'm a Kenyan and a Kenyan. Mm-hmm. I'm also a woman who loves God.
Nice.
And believes that we need God to excel in life. When I look back where I come from, I see the heart of God. And my career started a while ago by just passion. Mm-hmm. By just having a call in agriculture. Yeah. But I'll focus on what we have done through Africa Harvest, which is really the organization that I'm a founder director. Mm-hmm.
And for a long time.
For a long time, indeed. Mm-hmm. And a place where I feel that really God pressed me to be there, because what I've achieved, I don't think I'd have achieved without the hand of God.
Wow.
Africa Harvest is truly an organization that has touched so many lives. Mm. And my own passion from being a young girl mm-hmm. was to ensure we have food security. I grew up in a home of 10. Yeah. I'm number 6. Ooh. I was always fighting over food.
When the ugali is placed there is how fast you run, yes. Or how fast you eat.
You can imagine I had 6 brothers, 4 sisters.
6 brothers, 4 sisters.
Yes, so there was not enough to eat as we grew up. It was really hard. Yeah. My mother was struggling in the very hard to feed us. Yeah. And I will always be left in the garden, try to grow, try to do something, try to help my mom, and seeing all the other mothers struggling. In the rural Kenya, in Nairobi, in Nyeri indeed. That's where I grew up. Okay. And I just felt something at an early stage. I need to be in the space of agriculture. Mm-hmm. I need to be able to increase food for ourselves mm-hmm. and for so that everybody at home can have enough to eat. Mm-hmm. I didn't understand it, but that passion took me very far. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. So let's use a bit of Swahili here and say that daktari ni mkulima ile kabisa, like when you get to the shamba, you can turn around things.
I would say yes and no, because okay. Let's say at another stage I was like that. But the more I went on to with education, yeah. The more I realized really we need science and technology and innovations to be able to do more to help other people. Mm. If I farm, I want to be one farmer, but I can get so many people farming and doing the right thing. And so through Africa Harvest, we developed a very innovative organization where we look at what really can make a big difference. Mm. And I'm going to talk a little bit about, of course, the depths of food security. Yeah. But I just want to look at the area of what can we do, because really I'm among the few post-independence ladies who got a very good opportunity to have education, to be able to have the first degree from University of Nairobi, to have a master's degree from America, to have a PhD from England,
a doctorate,
to even get a post-PhD in America. And the question is, what do you do with that? And my passion was, let's increase food security. And honestly, my life has been that passion. And Africa Harvest has been geared, was started, is motivated to enter that space, or making sure that the rural communities, we started with the small-scale farmers, our mothers, and but now we got into the space of getting the young women and girls get back to agriculture, because the farmers are getting too old, and now we need young people to turn around and go in the space of agriculture.
That's true.
And so in Africa Harvest, we developed an organization that got a very interesting model. From all this education, and other people who come, of course, I'm not the only one, we are more than 40. We are also in the rural areas, we have got people in the field. We developed an organization that has got focuses on three things. The first thing is the technologies, meaning researchers in Kenya Agriculture Research, in the universities, researchers in international centers are researching on improved varieties of banana, of let's say small grains like sorghum, like groundnuts, the pigeon peas, you may not know about this, all these crops that are small, the finger millets, the millets, that really our farmer, the sweet potato, the cassava, we call them drought-tolerant crops. Because if you're an economy that just focuses on maize, when we have drought, we get into a lot of trouble.
It reminds me of what, and may his soul rest in eternal peace, President Magufuli once said, or perhaps advised the people of Tanzania, that if mahindi haifanyi vizuri, why don't you get into a different space and plant something different? Do you suppose that as a people of Africa, and looking at the staples which we tend to, hold on to so much, so looking at the different regions where you kind of feel like, bananas do well here and therefore you want to stick to bananas, do you think that there's that willingness to adjust?
It is a challenge, leader, because what you find, if you look at even the situation in the bigger picture in Africa, Africa is spending over $35 billion US importing crops, rice, wheat, maize, sugar, these crops. And you look at what did Africans eat before. If you tell people in Kenya that our great-grandfather did not eat maize, maize actually came from America and from Mexico. It's not indigenous, they don't even believe you. That we had sorghum before. God knew this would probably be a dry country. We had sorghum, we had millets, we had cassava, we had yams, and we had bananas, such things. But these got to be, were kind of neglected. They were even called orphan crops because of the maize, because of the wheat, because of the rice, because of these other very high demanding crops. And I'm not saying these are bad or we should not focus on them, but we need to diversify so that we are food secure. Food security, being able to eat or being able to have cash to buy. And so this big picture of huge importation of rice and wheat and what is because to a certain extent we neglected those crops. Now in Africa Harvest we realize here we have a niche. And the reason these crops are not getting to have impact is because first, the research that is done to improve the varieties so that they can have the ability to realize what they should has been done to a certain extent, but is not reaching to the farmers in the rural community. And so we developed, in Africa, we developed a model where we can have the science innovation, the improved variety, the improved seeds. Then we bring in what I call good agronomy, because what makes a crop to grow well is having manure or having fertilizer or having water, and then a market linkages. Because many of companies, you can't believe how many companies are importing in this country, importing even crops like groundnuts, before we intervened on sorghum, they were importing. Millets are being imported. Some groundnuts are being imported. Even these small crops. And so the way we have tackled food security in Africa Harvest is really looking at these other alternative crops. Are they helping them? I'll give an example. Banana in this country, 15 years ago, we were actually importing bananas from Uganda because we had very degenerated varieties. We were using suckers and suckers go with the disease, and they have no vigor. And so Africa Harvest started a mode of bringing bananas from the laboratory. They are called tissue culture bananas. And by helping to bring improved banana varieties, which all we did was really, let's say, get improved varieties of banana, teaching farmers how to grow, and linking to the market, organizing the market. Today, people even do not realize that we are secure in banana. In fact, sometimes we have a lot, and we are not importing.
Dr. Then most of the people would get scared of, this talk of genetically modified, products or produce, all this in the market. That is fine. You're going to bring it here, but then again, try to perhaps, modify it to make it better and all that. And I know it's been a debate that has been here long enough, and perhaps nobody can win you over that. But then again, these fears, do you suppose they have really been addressed as to the dangers that would come along with this, such that people would be willing to consume this?
Before I address that, I'm going to address that. That tissue culture banana is not genetically modified.
No. I know
I'll get into that.
Yes.
I first need to clarify that. Because we have huge impact. Really, what here I want to emphasize, reader, is that scientific innovations can be packaged and benefit the country to address food security. So tissue culture banana is not GMO, but by bringing something from the laboratory, training the farmers, and the young and old, how to use, linking it to the market, we stopped importing banana from Uganda. This country is secure in banana, and all we did was create a model. Then others followed, because Africa haven't been a pacemaker. Africa haven't been leading. Africa haven't been championing. And so you're right to call us a champion. Once we champion, others come and scale up. Okay. So then let me go to GMO convention a little bit. From the best of my knowledge, if you look at the figure, they'll show you that, yes, we have had some fear, but if you look at other countries who have embraced this technology, they have benefited. South Africa have benefited. Nigeria right now has 3 crops in the market. If you look at America and Canada and Europe, all those countries have benefited. So indeed, there's no evidence of danger that is known, because then we are talking of millions of acres, tons and tons of food going to the market. There's no evidence, but I am also saying the fears need to be addressed with information. They cannot be just brushed off. But I'm saying this is a technology that has a lot of impact. But what we have been doing in Africa Harvest, even definitely the GM debate, we have been part of it. And whether we are winning or losing, that technology is still going on, really. If you look at something like cotton, the whole world has gone BT cotton, which is GM cotton. And with GM cotton, there's no way you can make money, because the amount of money you need to spend on pesticides is prohibitive. Kenya, when I was young, Kenya used to produce cotton. And we used to have a lot of cotton. In fact, we didn't need to import. Now we're importing cotton. We're importing all the materials. And the solution which globally have been adopted is this GM technology to control the insects. So you can actually have cotton. India, Brazil, Argentina, the whole world has gone that way. And so we must also address our fears, so we are not actually losing. But in terms of Africa Harvest strategy, we have been looking for what is improved, what is available, whether it's sorghum. Sorghum is another story beyond the banana that Africa Harvest has tackled so well. Sorghum used to be just a crop that farmers were getting 5 shillings a ton. Again, we organized. We've got very good varieties. We were able to mobilize those varieties. We were able to link it to the market for flour, for malting, for what. And now sorghum has become a mega crop, which is benefiting everyone. So our model of getting Africa Harvest, getting technologies packaged, having good optimum production, because we move from 1 ton per hectare to 3 tons, making it commercially visible, organizing the market, that has opened a door for sorghum to become a very commercial crop. Farmers getting from 5 shillings to 17 shillings, 23 shillings.
It's a plus.
Right now, sorghum
and I really want us to speak to that. Just how then do we bridge this gap, in the sense that, we're going to make sure that, in between research, there's going to be implementation that will again proceed to benefit the farmer. But allow us to respond to that after this short break.
Thank you.
Thank you.
safari hii katika Mfahamu Kiongozi tutakuletea viongozi aina mbalimbali.
Nikuwe na Nisani kama 10 na pia nikuwe menua minibus. Minibus niko niwa.
Kushinda unaangalia simu ya mzee. Soma Biblia ama ingia kwa washroom ujisugue mpaka nimetoa hivi.
I don't know whether any of my children would want to get into the political field. Sijajua bado.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30 kuendelea.
Join us on a journey through the concrete jungles and rising skylines, where every beam, every nail tells a story of progress and vision.
In every aspect of life, you know, you have to look at several dynamics.
From groundbreaking,
Nowadays with the tech, you can check on different websites or you check online and you can see some inspiration. So at least that one would be a direction already. I'll know like what kind of style you're going for.
to finishing touches, witness the dedication of the hard-working teams who bring these ambitious dreams to reality. The Realtor, Tuesdays at 6:30 p.m. Number 000578.
All right, welcome back to Her Say. Dr. Florence Wambugu is here with us, of course, a plant pathologist and a virologist. And there's a question here from Celine who asks, Daktari, Linda, could you please ask Daktari what motivated her to get into this space of becoming a plant pathologist, as well as just understanding so much so of the crop, and she will be responding to that. But of importance, Daktari, once again, thank you so much for allowing us this honor to have you this evening. My question then was, of course, in relation to research and implementation for the sake of the farmers, because like you say, it is one thing to research, it's another to implement, it's another to have the farmers, appreciate what it is that comes out of research, and, for them to get the benefit, and beyond that, for the people or the masses to as well get that benefit.
Thank you, Rita. Again, I'm glad you have me here. Let me first mention about what made me the plant pathologist, and I'll dive into this question.
Yeah.
I used to follow my mother in the garden and see how the insects and all that are eating the crops.
Okay.
And when I was young, I felt if we could control these insects and all those diseases, we'd be able to have enough food. So I felt the insects were sharing our little food with us.
And it can be heartbreaking. I think I have seen that, and sometimes you really want to cry.
And at that passion, I said, if I'm going to agriculture, I'll first went to the area, because really plant pathology, like being a doctor for crops, you are really treating the crops, not the way we treat people, but you are geared towards increasing productivity of whatever you do, because the insects are being managed, whichever you manage. That tied up, so it's really a holistic. To me, it was something to at an early stage. I would be left there. I used to make the arches, sometimes get the suit from wherever, make my own concoction.
Mom was still there.
And I tried to control the insects.
Mom was there to watch it.
Yes. I used to be my own plant pathologist for my mother. When I was young, being left fighting the bugs in our small garden.
Yeah.
It's a passion I had at an early stage. But when I grew up, of course, I was studied. I knew I need to do beyond that, thinking about the beyond all this. And that's why I got into the area of agriculture, but on what's called crop protection, which virology and about all this is about really increasing productivity, reducing the losses, because, for example, you can lose up to 20% of your crop just from the diseases. That's why you heard about fall armyworm, which devastated our maize. You hear about cassava mosaic virus taking about 20% of our crop. So if you don't manage the diseases, they could take a big of your crops. But again, I look at the big picture. Because the question, and that's the big picture about how do we make sure we link research into the area of this. The picture I have about 50 years ago, Rita, Asia used to be where Africa is. Asia had serious problems in terms of food security, in terms of feeding their people. People are dying because of lack of food and all that. And they dived into the question of what should we do to make ourselves food secure? How do we link research and agriculture and all that? They realized it's beyond one thing. That's the time of a famous Idra Gadi. First, there was a very famous scientist called Norman Borlaug, who is remembered. And he focused on research to get varieties. Because first is a hybrid cow versus a Maasai cow. If you feed the Maasai cow, it will never give you the milk of a hybrid. The same with the crops. You have to have high-yielding crops that will give you the bags of maize you're supposed to have. There are 6 bags instead of 1. Even if you give fertilizer, you're not going to get 3 bags from a poor crop. So the research is so important, but the research is very well targeted to increase productivity and consider the varieties and even the biodiversity and even the climate change. And so Asia embarked on agriculture for the sake of pulling down the economy, increasing productivity, fighting food security and all that. And after that, then the government took the policy and investment. Agriculture is a business. If you're going to get the country out of importing, we have to take it seriously as a business. The country invested not only in research, but also in policies that increase irrigation, increase fertilizer, at a price that is affordable, and also trained the farmers and communicated to the farmers how to grow, and also brought the markets. They developed market very near that you can actually sell your crop and put them in a kind of they are not going to be wasted or eaten by insects and so on.
Dr. you have observed Africa.
Yes.
What would you say, is the progress and of importance? What does the future look like for Africa, especially when it comes to food security, and just having sustainable practices?
Really, we need to, the reason I was bringing the Asia example is because if we are going to make it even in our own country, we need to invest. Of course, the president brought in the issue of fertilizer, which is a good move. But we need to produce the fertilizer locally so it will be affordable and it will be sustainable. It needs to be in our shops, not to be dropped somewhere to be shared by someone. It needs to be affordable. So the crops respond to fertilizer, they respond to water, they respond to manure, and they also respond to the fact that there's a market. So there's policies that need to be introduced. There is sustainable funding that need to go to agriculture because agriculture is a business. If you don't invest in it, you are not going to get much. So what countries are doing this? I can give an example. Tanzania near door. And somehow I believe that women, if they get power, they'll focus on food security. Some very good policy decisions are going there. In terms of investing in agriculture, our own country is also investing in agriculture, but there are still missing some components that could be tied up together to strengthen, especially we reduce our import bill. Our import bill is very high. We're importing sugar, we're importing maize, we're importing wheat, we're importing. And when I look at that, good policies could focus on how do we reduce the import bill. One way is not impossible. There are companies that are importing. We work with these companies. They start buying locally. That's what Africa has tried to do. I can give you a simple example. Right now, we are working with a company that's producing groundnuts. They have been importing from Brazil. They have been importing from Malawi, from Tanzania. And we have worked with this company and told them, supposing we work together and begin to grow groundnuts in Sia and Busia, which is very good. There's no cash crop there, reduce poverty, have young people growing, and you reduce your import bill. And we shall help you because what companies will tell you what they're importing, they'll say we can't find volume, we can't find quality assurance, we can't have timely delivery. So it's easier to import. And that's what the companies will do. But what we need to do is to truly support agriculture value chains so that we can deliver volumes, we can deliver quality, still at the smallholder farmers. And you see, A good example here to show what I'm saying is tea. Excellent production in tea, done by smallholder farmers, but they have been supported along. Policies that have been put for tea ought to be put on maize, they ought to be put on sorghum, they ought to be put on wheat, they need to be put across they ought to be put on sugar, which is done more politically than in reality. We need to do that for small crops like cassava, like beans. We are importing beans from Tanzania, by the way. We need to put that so that we can produce our rice. By the way, we are importing 80% of our rice. Kenya can produce rice. We have varieties of rice that don't need to be flooded. We call them high-rad rice. I am a board member of an organization called Africa Rice. It's one of the CGI centers. Africa Harvest has partnered with this and we're actually testing high-rad varieties which can grow without. So, but then what happens? Testing is not good enough. There had to be investment. So we need to have a more serious investment to reduce the importation. You
have been here long enough. What do you suppose could be, dragging us behind, or perhaps just dragging us, and perhaps gotten the privilege of even advising governments in relation to food security as a country? Why is it that we still are speaking about importation at this point, and not just importation, but in large magnitudes?
I think there are two. One of it, there's still the issue of quick money through importation. Yeah? And I think that quick money through importation, whether it's by people who are given, because it's easy to say, it needs to be balanced. You can't say we are not going to import sugar or rice when we don't have. But we need that partnered with long-term view. Yes, we need to import, but can we also invest in those opportunities? I'm talking from Africa Harvest. There are many other organizations. We have IRI also promoting rice. Instead of just focusing that we shall continue to import rice because the quick money for whoever gets the tender, why don't we make it difficult that if you're importing, you're also part of the solution, or the government has a clear strategy. How do we reduce the importation of rice? It's easy. It's not, there's no rocket science. It's bringing variety, helping farmers with the knowledge, investing in fertilizer, either helping with the irrigation or helping with those high-rad varieties that don't need to be flooded. We call them high-rad because they don't need to be really flooded. It's cheaper way. And then you are reducing your import bill, and that way you are creating jobs. More money is coming to the local farmers instead of just buying, taking money away. And we are also creating jobs. There's no rocket science here. It's a question of priorities, focus on investing in the country. The money we are sending abroad to buy beans from Tanzania, we have demonstrated in this country, Africa Harvest has demonstrated, we can produce beans here. We don't necessarily have to import. We develop models that can be scaled up. But because we don't have unlimited resources, ours is to demonstrate, but others who have money need to invest. Now, the private sector does not always, is a government policy, and the money allocated to agriculture are allocated in production that reduces the importation. And then you try and lock up, don't make importation so lucrative that it will be better alternative than production locally. So it has to be done two ways, whether because if it's rice, people are making money. If it's wheat, Rift Valley, I know a time when Kenya used to export wheat, you see, okay? I know a time when we were self-sufficient in maize.
In maize,
we can. But again, it had to be not so easy just to continue to import to make quick money. We need to invest. We need to invest in agriculture, whether it's supporting irrigation, supporting fertilizer in a more sustainable way than a quick fix. And then we buy from local farmers. There have been a case where you have the stores have maize, but more importation is coming to compete. Give farmers a very good price that you make the farmers to continue to produce, incentivize the farmers. The Americans have produced more by subsidizing their farmers. And our president is trying, because they have brought fertilizer to help subsidize the fertilizer. But you need to go beyond that, become a policy that is more sustainable and get more support all across the board.
And when you say all across the board, the element of collaboration then would be very vital or very important in this case. And you play at the continental stage in terms of this. I acknowledge the fact that, you know, you have extended your offices even beyond the country.
Yes.
Just how much is that factor of collaboration, you know, at play in terms of making sure that we are talking about an Africa that is food secure, not just a certain country that is food secure? Because when you hear statements like jirani ana chakula, it must get you worried. Because then if your neighbor is not okay, certainly if they're coughing, you're going to catch a cold.
That's absolutely true. Now, the continent of Africa has worked very hard to have Africa free trade. Excellent idea. But what are we trading? When you are importing and importing and importing. Tea, yes. Coffee, yes. Cocoa, yes. Now, there need to be a balance. One balance is, for example, if you look at West Africa, Africa Harvest has fingerprints in about 11 countries. So we are really been to Ghana, Nigeria, Zambia, South Africa, and all that. South Africa is a bit food secure in a certain way. But the local people are still left behind. Unlike Kenya, where most people have access, what they don't have is enough cash, enough credit really to invest. Now, when you look across Africa, there's still the policies I feel like that we imported the colonial policy, and we can't be 50 years down the line, we are still blaming the colonial system for our own problems. Because if you look at the cash crops, which we export, we take care of them. We provide really systems that encourage for tea to produce, to take it near, to process, to do all the way the market. Excellent. Now, when you come to the food, you don't get that kind of support. Now, if you look at how America developed those countries, they first really secured their food. Because so long as we're importing food, you can't grow. Because we are spending your meager resources importing your food. And so when you look at cross-African countries, because I don't know how there's colonization, they have got, except Nigeria, which is trying very hard, you find they still have the challenges of having their priorities wrong. You are focusing on export of cocoa, but you still don't have enough food. You're focusing on the export of coffee, or this crop, or this, but so there is a wrong priority. Still, we are becoming an extractive. We are still feeding. We are still feeding the colonial raw material. And when you sell that coffee, you're not processing, you're not value adding, then it comes as Nescafe, you can hardly afford it. When our tea becomes Ripton, it goes so many times more expensive. And because there's that move right now to value add, but when you come to doing it, then still we talk, but we haven't done it. The coffee is trying to get out of that. So there is a struggle, truly we can't say that. And then when you go to a WTO, you find the tariffs that literally do not encourage us to process to value add. But if Africa comes together, we are coming together in African Union, these are some of the hard questions could be answered. First, we need to trade with ourselves. Let me tell you, Africa is only 15% of trade is within Africa. If you look at Europe is 65% of their trade. They trade with each other. That means they don't have to worry so much if there's nothing come from outside. If you're only trading 15% of the trade, we should be able to actually trade more in Africa, even through this Africa free trade. We create our own market within Africa, or we increase from 15 even to 50%. By good road network, having our materials, reducing the tariff, whatever the politicians can do. So create an African market. That's the best network. When we sell what West Africans do not have, and we buy what we have, the palm oil, we're importing oils. Almost 90% of oils are imported. West Africa is exporting their oil. We could buy from them, we sell their tea, because they like tea, and we, and then we buy their oil. That is African trade, that's networking. We are sharing knowledge, we are sharing resources, we are empowering each other. Our neighbor is Tanzania, we are importing a lot of things from Tanzania. Kenya is doing very well on tea. Our tea goes actually to Pakistan, goes to Egypt, it goes to those countries. So there is networking. But the issue of food, and really I come back to Africa Harvest model, focusing on these so-called orphan crops. At Uganda, we have never heard of Uganda starving. They focus on banana, banana is a key food crop in Uganda. Okay, they are focusing on cassava. So what we are trying to do, Africa Harvest, is really to also bring the small crops like green grams, by the way. We are working on green grams, pigeon peas. We are working on soga. I don't know if you have heard about millet, millet. These are drought-tolerant crops. So when there is no rain, you need very little rain because we have got weather change, climate change. You can still produce a harvest, and you can still make money. And then we are linking it to the market so that there will be no where do our people sell. We are also creating a market for young people, interesting them to farm as a business, but also make sure they have a market.
Well, great. A bit of hard talk there, but then again, a conversation that we certainly continue having, because then if we're going to have a food secure country and Africa and a global fraternity that is food secure, we certainly must have these conversations. This must be on a light note, yeah? One person is asking here, we all understand very well, Linda, that farmers are much, much, much better weather forecasters than the weather forecasters themselves. With the rain, could you please ask Dr. should we begin planting now that we have, 1 day, 2 days rain?
Well, I really can't say that. We have the weatherman. We have to listen to the weatherman and pray they get it right. Remember the story of Nino? So we just have to focus with the weatherman. And certainly India has got it better, but Kenya should be working towards really getting a better weather forecast, because the rain or no rain is so important. That's one which has hurt us, because if the farmer only have a little crop and it's costly, because to have improved variety, they are costly, and you plant and rain doesn't come, you lose your crop.
That's true. So
we could all improve, especially our targeting on food security by having a proper weather forecasting is a very important tool for food security. Because if I've got 2 kilos of grain, of seed, which is costly, actually seed is costly, and the weatherman says plant is going to rain, I plant, it doesn't rain, I lose it. The next thing, I don't have the seed, I also pay the money for labor. You see, I'm in a bad place.
That's true.
So good weather targeting is so important as part of our food security. So we can tell the government, I can sell this platform, the government need to invest on a proper rain focusing station or information which helps the farmers. And you've seen this in the Western country, they say it's going to rain, it rains.
It's true.
So we should be in the same platform.
Should be the same space,
part of networking.
My director is reminding me of the primary school days. He says, use the wind sock, the wind vane, the rain gauge. Interesting times. Well, here we are, Dr. I'm sure it's not been a smooth sail for you.
Yes.
In this space that most of the ladies have not been. But I am told also that we have a developing story before we get to that. Yes, Mr. Director? Yes, we still do not have that. We might want to have it fixed so that we get the developing. Is it the developing on the Murang'a accident on the students? The governor of Murang'a County. All right, let's see what it is that the governor of Murang'a County has to say. Remember, earlier on, we had highlighted the unfortunate occurrence of an accident in the sides of Murang'a for students. Let's take a look at that a clip also as we remind you of the same, and we also get to hear what it is that the governor said on the same.
We shall stand with the families in this trying time as a Murang'a County government. According to the information that we have, 43 persons were in that vehicle, 38 children, 3 teachers and 2 other persons, including the driver. And all of them are being taken care of here in Murang'a and Marago. And we are trying our best to ensure we give them the first aid. I had to terminate what I was doing in Nairobi to come and rush here to stand with the families. And the county sent the fire department to evacuate the wreckage at Madhioya. We also want to give an assurance that those who came to Murang'a were attended, but due to the numbers, some of them were transferred to Marago because of the sheer numbers. There were 3 important machines that were originally placed here by the national government, by the previous national government.
Yes, indeed. We certainly hope that we get more news in relation to that, but we also wish the students and their families well. A reminder that several students were injured after the bus that they were traveling in was involved in a road accident at Kawatera, that is along Gitugi Muranga Road. And of course, those that have been rescued have been taken to level 5, that is Muranga level 5 hospital. And of course, this bus was reportedly ferrying pupils from Scouts event in Nyeri when the accident occurred. Dr. your challenges as you grow up into this space and as you continue soldiering on.
Thank you. I really don't understand again. I give glory to God that I'm still soldiering on.
You know,
I think I'm driven by passion. I'm driven by really just the same passion on food security. And currently my biggest passion is having young people really go into agriculture. And the charity, first and foremost, I started like every scientist, telling everybody, going to meetings and telling people what should be happening. Why am I a scientist? I really don't care about all this education I have if it will not have an impact. And that didn't sound very well. Some people told me you should go to university and lecture. You're one of the most highly educated women. There's nothing wrong in lecturing, but I felt it wasn't linking me to where did I want to go, space on food, increasing food, developing scientific models, showing that science can deliver to impact if it's well netted to the even smallholder farmers. And now, even now, creating job for the young people.
Yeah.
I struggled, of course, to start Africa Harvest because I'm a founder director.
Yeah.
And because telling people what to do, and they are the only one who has that vision for what God has put in your heart. And I'll tell that because space of starting something from nowhere and believing in it, resigning from a job, at a good job, where I resigned to start Africa Harvest was not easy.
Wow.
And knowing that the future of Africa Harvest is going to depend on convincing funders and people to support this idea I have on food security, and it's going to make an impact. So there were all kinds of challenges indeed to start with. I started like everybody else. Africa Harvest started in a house somewhere. It didn't start where it is now. We have a beautiful facility in Spring Valley Business Park. That's not where I started, in a house somewhere. My children have just gone to university, so I took their furniture, and that became the first space for us to become an office. And an old Pajero became the office car, and there was probably 3 of us, myself and anybody I convinced to come. It's like the way, you know, when I think the artists try to convince they have a gift and go playing guitar where they can be seen. And then I start the journey of talking to potential funders and telling them that truly I believe that we need to link science. I could see the space. So much science. I've been to America. I can see the food production. University lecturers go work with the farmers to turn information so the farmers are using the research from universities. I've seen to England, and I've seen in England research and the farmers work together. Here we have got a model where the research institution don't work directly with the farmers. The university don't do directly with farmers. The farmers are there. The research is here. There's a lot of publications in shelves. And I was like, that's not what God put me here for. I need to do something. And that's the way Africa Harvest was born. I literally burned the tables. In terms of, first I resigned, and I was in an international station actually. I was working, I had red number plate, in Erie. I was driving a red number plate. And when I resigned, the people told me, you've gone crazy. Where are you going? I would have
told you the same thing.
Where are you going? What are you going to do? I said, you know, you can't tell people, you know, you have got inspiration. You've especially mentioned God. This is when I've gone crazy. I'm saying, I feel so inspired that I need to resign. What I have to do can be born. If I'm still one leg working, at one leg somewhere, I need to burst this baby and really do something. And that's where Africa was born. So starting with literally myself, and I convinced one girl to come and become the receptionist and everything. I convinced a sister of mine to come and become my whatever, who didn't have a job. Literally, that's where it started. 5 of us in a house, in whatever you say, your spare bedroom, wherever, never mind. And we started now, and I had to really start convincing funders. The first money I got was $50,000 from Ford, and it was really...
Ford Foundation.
Yes,
okay.
And I thought this was so important to demonstrate what I've been saying, that we can't take an innovation. Then the Rockefeller Foundation came on board. We started the tissue culture banana, and said the banana is not GMO, but it demonstrates the power of science. And from there, then, we got a bigger grant, working with other funders came. The USAID said, this woman is not really crazy. What she's saying is happening. Look at the farmers having huge banana. She's done to sorghum now. She has done now sweet potato. We have done this, we have done this. Now we're into value chains, especially focusing on these, what you call orphan crops, food security crops that you can demonstrate in the farmer's field, that you can turn poor. I mean, the sorghum was amazing. Tharaka, when we went to Tharaka, people were in mud houses. They had literally the poor of the poor because of a dry area.
And there was a
But by sorghum, by bringing the market, they start building stone houses, taking their children to school. Banana now in Kenya is in 12 counties.
As we sum it up.
Yes. Once you demonstrate, funders come. And then later we got a huge grant from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to take the science and innovations further. But really it started in a very lucky way. And of course the challenges come. We had COVID, we went down, but God has helped us, we are back again. So Africa Harvest has been going that journey. But we have seen really a big scale up of our models. Many organizations are taking our models, showing that you can hang on to a value chain, you can package the innovation, you can bring good agronomy, you can link to the market, and there is a success story. Many organizations have taken our models and they work across Africa. When I look at even Burkina Faso in sorghum, Nigeria, Zambia, wherever, Malawi, we can see these innovations going across. That's what's keeping us going.
That's beautiful. You know, I would have asked this question, just what would you tell this one student, scientist who's actually pursuing a career in plant pathology and virology, but evidently from what Daktari says, isn't that motivation enough? In 30 seconds, as we sum it up.
Truly, we can never change agriculture without science and innovation. If you have a passion for that, don't give up. But tie to your purpose. Don't just focus on science. What can I do with this science to help that mother, that young person who is in the village, jobless right now? We are looking at counties, young people without jobs. How can we help them? Not by the word science, but getting science to support agriculture so it becomes a business. And there's a market. So there is a big opportunity. The biggest opportunity for young people is in agriculture.
That's true.
But agriculture linked to the market. Agriculture linked to innovation, increased productivity. So there is hope. And please don't all run to the town. Stay there and stay in agriculture. That's where the businesses are.
I agree. Most of the people always want to go to the urban areas and forget that back at home, there's still more life in terms of just, you know, getting into the farm and turning the farms into beautiful things, and as well, you know, things that actually present to us food. So, Dr. Florence Wambugu, HSC, thank you so much for speaking to us, a pathologist and virologist. It was a great honor hosting you this evening. We have to close it. I know some of these conversations we can have till the cows come back home. Well, of course, still it's morning, but then again, sometimes we just get to get the snippets of them, and we appreciate and we make life better. My name is Linda Lela. It was good having you. I thank you as well for the immense feedback. We certainly hope to see you again on Hase. That is sometime on Saturday, but for now, do have yourself a pleasant weekend ahead and a night that is good.